no room for error. Dehydrated, covered in sweat. My hips are aching, my knees are aching, my feet are aching.
It's one of our worries of the day, finding a place to sleep. God knows what's going to happen in this second half.
We don't have much room for things going wrong, so we're going to keep you obviously updated on that as we go along.
Welcome back to the channel. We're Janine and Liam Day, a married couple from the UK that, after recently being made homeless, we decided to take on the adventure of a lifetime, the Camino De Santiago pilgrimage, an 800-kilometre trek by foot across France and northern Spain. We walk long distances each day on a path that pilgrims have been doing for centuries, looking for deeper meaning and a spiritual connection to this crazy thing we call life. Our goal is to reach Santiago de Compostela in Spain, where it's believed the bodily remains of St. James lay. So far we have taken on the Pyrenees Mountains and dropped down through the Navarre and Rioja wine regions. And here I came close to having to leave the Camino for good, as I developed serious blisters, resulting in Liam having to walk solo for 3 days. Those few days helped immensely, and despite it not being 100% that I can finish the Camino, I decided to start hiking again. But timing couldn't have been worse, as now it's time for the middle section of the pilgrimage, as we walk through the dry, hot and dusty conditions of the Merceta. Pilgrims refer to the Merceta as the desert, as the walks here are long and hot and with little shade and less water. In fact, many of our fellow pilgrims have decided to miss this 220-kilometre desert trek out after hearing about its reputation. So wish us luck as we put our minds and bodies to the test once more on this Camino pilgrimage.
Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Hola amigos, we are in northern Spain on an 800-kilometre ancient pilgrimage, and right now we're in the desert. Did you know that Spain's got a desert? Well, this is it. It's called the Merceta, and we are trekking through it very early in the morning because, do you know what? When it gets any later, that sun is coming up just behind me now, it gets bloody hot. The last time you saw us, we were on the first leg of this whole journey. We travelled over the Pyrenees and we were doing 25 to 30 plus kilometres a day walks, hikes, and unfortunately it's been really rough. As you know from the last video, Janine has had some serious feet problems, injuries, namely blisters. It almost called the whole thing quits, in all honesty, for Janine. And honestly, that was going to be it for both of us on this leg of the Camino. We would have had to go home. Somehow, somewhere, Janine took a couple of days off and she told her feet that you've got 24 hours now to sort yourselves out. Otherwise, that's it, we are going home. And miraculously, they healed. She did a 20-kilometre walk, followed by a 24-kilometre walk, followed by a 30-kilometre walk yesterday, and today we are doing another 30-kilometre walk through the desert. However, we got some problems. Not only is the desert, and you know the conditions of the desert. It's dry. There's not much water. The conditions are quite strenuous underfoot. We are walking and have been walking 25 to 30 kilometres for quite a long time now, many days. The other challenges we face are my fault. I thought that we'd planned for enough time for this whole pilgrimage. I've given ourselves enough time. Unfortunately, I haven't. If we continue the way that we're doing, we will get and finish this trip if no more injuries happen. But we have no room for error. We have no room for rest days. We have no room for anything like that. So what we're doing, the new plan is, whether it's going to work out or not, I don't know, is to up the kilometres. So whilst we were doing 20 to 5 kilometre days, we're now doing 30 kilometre days through the desert. And with it come a whole new, brand new set of challenges. We're having to get up in the dark and walk by moonlight in the morning, just so we can do it without too much heat. The heat in the daytime is going well above 30 degrees, into the mid 30s, and in the desert that feels a lot hotter, trust me. We started yesterday and we ended up at we did the full day. It was hard work, but we ended up at some really quirky accommodation in the middle of the desert, a public albergue. Albergues are pilgrim hostels, and we made it. We did 30 kilometers on the very first day of the desert. Today is the first full day of desert walking, and yes, we're just going to see how it goes. We're going to bring you along with us. We're going to show you the accommodation that is in the desert here on this pilgrimage. We're going to show you the food that we're eating, and hopefully, all going well, we'll make it out of the desert with no injuries, and we're going to make it to the grand city of Leon. So wish us luck.
We're all fish in a stream, swimming towards a vicious dream. Don't you know we're the walking dead? Our lives were meant to be this bleak. Somehow they got into our heads. We're wide awake, yet still asleep. We're the walking dead.
Okay, cool, so we are here in the desert. I've got one left foot, which is almost completely healed. I've got one blister on my right foot, which is causing me problems. I'm determined not to let it get worse though, so I'm really using what I learned to keep it clean and putting that, I've forgotten what that stuff's called, putting some drops on it to make sure that it doesn't get infected. And yeah, so hopefully wrapping it up as well. I don't know what's going to happen there. It's very painful though. I definitely want to try my hardest to complete this challenge because I really want to make it to the end. Once we've done this challenge in front of us right now, then we'll be 2/3 in and we'll see the end line in the distance. And yeah, so I'm going to get through the desert. If I have to have any more rest days, we're kind of building up the distance now, so if I need a rest day, I can have one and we can still make it to Santiago on time. If we can't build up the distance, or if I need 2 rest days, then there's a possibility that we may miss our flight, or that I can't actually complete this and I'll just be absolutely gutted. So I'm keeping all of my fingers crossed that nothing goes wrong. So yeah, I'm climbing up a hill, so I think I might stop talking.
We continued walking through the desert as the sun breached the horizon. Our daily routine is to wake and walk in the dark, guided by the moonlight, which was luckily at its fullest. If we were to make it through the desert in good time, then our plan is to take the first 6 to 8 kilometres of each morning without food or coffee, just cold footsteps through the sand and gravel. For our sacrifice, the Camino always provides, and our early morning distance seems to always be rewarded with pretty ancient Spanish towns that have been serving pilgrims for centuries.
I can definitely smell gingerbread, a waft of gingerbread through here. It smells amazing. We've also smelt some savoury things that they're cooking really early on, so I'm guessing that's for the pilgrims later on when they're passing through. But anyway, we've just popped off at this shop and there's some bread hanging outside. It's very cute. Everything's so cute.
Not really finding much to eat, we left the cute village behind and walked on, hoping to find something to drink this morning in the heat of the desert.
Okay, cool. We have been trekking now through the desert. It's absolutely boiling. And there's been nothing, absolutely nothing around. And up in the distance we can see it looks like a bus or something, but we're praying that there's some cold drinks because I am gasping.
Unless it's a mirage, Janine, eh?
Yeah.
After 20-kilometre mirage in the desert.
Take me back to the old dirt road where Mama and Papa used to go. Let's
Coke Zero. Well, something I wouldn't normally drink, but you know, desert's a desert.
pine for them old days of yore.
Oh, I don't want him to jump on me.
You'll be alright.
Let me run through the breeze like the leaves on the tree. Let me fly like the leaves when they fall. Well, let my mind go serene like a cool water stream that runs from the mountain so tall. Oh, take me back down the old dirt road.
Well, in front of us now is the town, the village where we're stopping tonight. It's called Bodilla El Camino, or Del Camino. And I'll be honest with you, That, for me, has been the hardest day so far, without a shadow of a doubt. What about you?
Yeah, that was really tough.
What made it tougher than the other days, you think?
I don't know, because it was flatter, but I think it's just because it's hot and you're out in the heat. And there's loads of rocks underfoot as well.
Yeah, it's the rocks for me. The lack of stops, hardly any stops to get shade, and the rocks under feet. It's been a long one, 30 something kilometers. I'm so pleased to be arriving, because I'm just thirsty, dehydrated, covered in sweat. My hips are aching, my knees are aching, my feet are aching. I sound like a whinging so-and-so, but honestly, I just want to stop now.
We made our way to the small village of Bodilla, where we checked into the NL Camino albergue. After a hot, tiring day walking, we were so pleased to drink a cold water, check into our dorm and head off for a bite to eat. The only option for food tonight was a Pilgrims dinner, which we had at lunchtime. It consists of a veggie soup to start, green beans, chips and salad for the main, and a wedge of watermelon for dessert, along with bread and wine, costing €16 per head. The accommodation here is different dorm rooms with a communal grass area and a swimming pool, and a place for all those smelly shoes and a washing line. We chilled for the evening, ready for the next day's hiking across the Spanish Merceta.
Buenos dias, amigos. We are on the road again. We left early this morning. The sun's only just come up, and we've already done about, an hour and a half of walking? Yeah. So we decided today that we wanted to set off earlier, because yesterday afternoon was hell, quoting Janine. It was really horrible. It was hot, it was dry, and I think you saw what it was like yesterday. We arrived at the accommodation and we were just whacked. There was a situation of not being able to get any food as well, so we had to quickly take the food that we could get. It was interesting, as you saw, and yeah, then we went to bed early, as you do. So I think we was in bed by 8:30. This morning, you wake up in the dorm and you try and get out of there as quickly as possible. Now, we are just gone through a town called Merceta. So the plan is to try and get to our accommodation today. We've got 26 kilometers to do today. Trying to get to our accommodation today before it gets too hot, because we can't do what we did last night again. So this accommodation is unbooked. Last night was booked, this one is unbooked. So we are literally also rolling into town, not knowing whether we're going to get a bed. So 2 goals: get to our destination before it gets too hot, try and find a bed for the night for 2 of us, and also tomorrow there is one of the hardest parts of this whole desert journey, and it's 17 kilometers with no shade, no water, no facilities, no servicios, no nothing. So it's going to be a really, really tough couple of 2 days, I think, and we are just trying to make some progress now.
Also, one thing to note is that in the mornings here, it's really cold. I'm not going to say freezing, it's just cold. And it's absolutely scorching in the day. So I put on all of my layers and they come off like one by one as it gets warmer and warmer. So a good tip is to put on your shorts under your trousers, because everywhere's exposed here. I couldn't find anywhere to get changed yesterday into my shorts that was a little bit private, so I've got my shorts underneath today. Okay, cool, so we have walked really quite far today. 20k already. Okay, we're at the 20k mark. We're actually heading into a town now, because we've eaten a banana today and that's it, and we're both feeling really hungry. This town, there is no one around and it doesn't look too promising, but we're gonna give it a go and see if we can find something to eat that's vegan. So, wish us luck. Oh my god! Oh my god! They've got a vegano. I think it's a pizza for €3.50. Vegano pizza.
You are joking me. Are you kidding me?
Vegano.
That looks like the best option we've seen so far. Flipping heck. Oh my god, I'm well excited. Vegano pizza? Oh, please. Please. Oh, see, yeah. My word, like, it's the first time we've seen an option at a lunch stop sort of thing for the whole of the Camino. Gosh. Maybe even cuatro. Who knows? We'll see how we go. This is an exciting time.
Okay, cool. So that's the vegan pizza in the middle of the Merceta desert done. So happy about that. But now we're walking on. We need to really push on and try and find some accommodation before it fills up, because we haven't booked in today. So it's one of our worries of the day, finding a place to sleep.
We pushed on to our accommodation, praying that they have room for us. Joining the back of the queue and not knowing how many beds they had available, we hoped that we wouldn't have to walk to the next albergue. Whilst waiting in the afternoon sun, the lovely nuns were handing out hot tea for us to hydrate whilst we waited.
Just been given some hot tea.
Smells lovely.
Yeah. There's an Irish guy in the queue who said it was whiskey and people were turning it down. But it's not whiskey, it's hot tea. Oh, it's actually really nice after that hike.
Yeah, go on then. Twist my arm.
Go on then, have that.
Delicious. It's like herbally green tea, sort of. It's really delicious. This is actually a convent that we can stay at. Pilgrims are allowed to stay at. It costs €8 for a bed. And I think it might even be the cheapest place we stayed at so far. Wonderful.
After spending some time in the queue, we finally made it to the front and got our stamp in the Pilgrim's passport, which symbolises a guaranteed bed for the evening. We climbed the stairs up to the dorm, where the bunks were so tight together we could barely squeeze through. With beds made, it was supermarket time, and we found the biggest tub of guacamole I've ever seen. Heading back to the beautiful convent, we made some large sandwiches and sat under the huge walnut tree in the courtyard garden, resting our feet finally after a hectic day. The nuns at this albergue put on a few evening events for us to attend. The first was hymns at the cathedral next door. The second was singing songs back at the convent. Liam mentioned how much of a Sister Act vibe today was having. In the evening they wanted us to attend mass at the cathedral, which we did out of respect, but the singing was by far our highlight. We couldn't capture much, but this is just a glimpse.
I've got no license left, 'cause I drove against red. This is how things go when I'm on the road. Drive like I'm all alone and think I run the show. 'Cause I got a lot to learn and to go somewhere. I need to do my prayers. I need to find out how I can give in to faith. Place my hands to pray. God will lead the way.
The following morning, the whole convent seemed to arise at 5 a.m. to begin another really hot day walking through the desert. The reason being is that this day would start off with a 17-kilometre stretch of what we were told had no shade, water or facilities. But we needn't have worried, as during the walk there was a little oasis offering tea and coffee. Everyone was clearly nervous, and the majority of us set off from the convent by the light of the moon, enjoying a beautiful sunrise later on.
Good morning, and we are back in the desert again. This is the crucial day, the 17 kilometres straight with no facilities, no services, no water, no nothing. The reason why we got up super early this morning and did as much of it in the dark as possible, now the beautiful sun is rising above the horizon, and it is, because it's so flat, it's absolutely stunning. What's really interesting this morning is we've done about, I would say, 10k of the 17 kilometres. It's a 28 kilometre day again. But what's funny is if everybody's had the same idea, get as much done before the sun comes up, because this trail right here, if the sun was higher in the sky, would be a friggin' nightmare. But so far, so good. And last night we stopped at the convent, and it as beautiful as it was, the nuns playing music to us, and they were really, really sweet, and the church service, there was a pilgrim's mass for us and all that sort of business. It was where we were actually stopping, it was so uncomfortable. We were in the smallest, tightest bunk bed setup we've been in so far, and there was just surround sound snorers, and Janine said I was fidgeting all night. I don't know whether I'm getting enough sleep, to be honest with you. Anyway, regardless, we keep pushing on, we keep banging out the kilometres, and this is what the Camino looks like this morning. All of the pilgrims along the longest, flattest trail so far.
The early morning sacrifice with little sleep had paid off, and we marched through the 17 kilometres of expansive plains before the sun rose too hot in the sky and before our water bottles were empty. We had the last 10 kilometres to do, and as any pilgrim will tell you, the last stretch of the day is always the hardest, especially in desert-like conditions. As we wandered into the town of Terradillos de los Templarios, we for once were fortunate enough to have pre-booked our beds for the night, as many of our fellow pilgrims were being turned away, some having to walk into the next town, and some had to backtrack to the previous village. Either way, it's not ideal after a long day's hike in the sun. We got showered and changed, and Liam took full advantage of a couple of cold beers in the sun, and I had a white wine which was just €1.50 a glass. It all came with olives. The following day offered us a surprise we had been waiting for, and we were so happy to see it.
You guys!
It's the halfway point.
We think that we have just made it to the halfway point, and we're all very excited. Halfway on this whole Camino, and we have made it, and my foot hasn't fallen off yet. So we're really excited. We've just got a half left. God knows what's going to happen in this second half, but I'm just so happy to be here. I feel like I need a certificate or something to celebrate, but never mind. Just a photo will do.
Hey, I'm Mr. O. We've hit the halfway point, and our good Korean friend, Mr. O, is here as well.
How are you feeling, Zoe?
Good.
Yeah?
Amazing. I feel so proud of myself.
Yeah.
Proud of you. This is a really cool thing. It's like something off of Lord of the Rings.
Who's that, Liam?
It's the Knights Templar, and these are the ones that are protecting the pilgrims all the way, and they have them for centuries.
Wow.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
We grabbed some photos and left, picking up a Beyond Meat burger at a restaurant on our journey today, which we were so pleased about. All these days here are tough, and this was no exception.
So we've passed over halfway now on our pilgrimage, the 800-kilometre pilgrimage that we've been going on. And so even though it's halfway and we're dead happy about it, we are not finished yet, and we're not even done with the desert yet. We've been walking now for I think 5 or 6 days through this sort of desert element section of the pilgrimage, the Camino de Santiago, and I wanted to come on here and be truthful with you for anyone who's wanting to do it in 2023 and tell you how it is really and how it's been. But you know, the first section of this whole Camino de Santiago was to do with our bodies, and they said it was test our bodies, and I think Janine knows that more than anybody. The physical part of this whole challenge almost called it quits for her. It was almost home time, and if she was going home, I was going home. Thankfully, miraculously, she has come out of the physical side of it quite a lot, but she's still not out of muddy waters yet. We're keeping an eye on her feet, her blisters, her ailments. She's taking it day by day. We don't have much room for things going wrong, so we're going to keep you obviously updated on that as we go along. They said in the guidebooks and amongst pilgrims, it's known, this desert area, this middle section of the Camino Santiago, it tests your mind, it's the mental part of it. It was only really yesterday, that I really understood that part of it as well, and why they say it's a mental challenge. There's something about the barrenness of this sort of Merceta desert that we're going through that makes you, the more desolate and sparse it is, the more you go inwards. It's literally just us, the other pilgrims, 32-degree heat, sun beating down on our necks, and just the sound of gravel crunching under our feet and the tapping of our trekking poles. It's so repetitive, it's so monotonous, it's quite tough, I'll be honest with you. So mentally just going inwards and then you realise how much you've been doing this day in, day out, with long hiking days, arriving in a town, trying to find a hostel, an albergue with spare beds that you can sleep in them, then checking in, finding your bunk bed, being squeezed into a tight space, putting on your disposable sheets, then checking your blisters, knee pains, hip pains, any other ailments that you might have, stiff joints, pilgrim dinner, sharing bread, sharing wine, having some beers, olives, nuts. Will they have plant-based options for dinner? And then it's early nights, snoring, lights out, needing to get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, struggling to find where it is. It's a new place, unfamiliar territory, early mornings, alarm clocks, walking in the dark. It's cold. Then the cold follows the heat. Then we're back to long days, lots of kilometers and lots of pilgrims. And of course, the whole time we're also thinking about the stuff that's going on back home, and you can imagine what's going through mine and Janine's heads, thinking about what we're doing back home and then thinking about what we're doing in life in general, and the whole time you're just sort of hoping and waiting and longing for that moment where you see the city, the beautiful city of Leon on the horizon, and you know that you've made it out of the Merceta desert and we're on to the next stage of all of this.
I am down. Feel so sure, 'cause I can change my mind and be the bad guy. Not the first time. You can change me. You can change me. You're in that place. It's such a waste. Look what you have done. I got away. I couldn't stay. I got a taste of all I ever wanted. It's too late. Bring me back to life. And I am yours till I run. Don't ask me why. That's what I do. Always have done. You can change me. You can change me. You're in that place. It's such a waste. Look what you have done. I got away. I couldn't stay. I got a taste of all I ever wanted. It's too late. You can change me. You can change me. I couldn't stay. I got a taste of all I ever wanted. It's too late. You're in that place. It's such a waste. Look what you have done. I got away. I couldn't stay. I got a taste of all I ever wanted. It's too late. You're in that place. It's such a waste. Look what you have done. I got away. I couldn't stay. I got a taste of all I ever wanted. It's too late. It's too late. It's too late.
We finally made it to the great city of Leon, an incredible sight to behold, but as we rolled into town, dusty, hot and fresh out the Merceta, we wondered what the final part of the Camino had in store for us, and would it be all that we had dreamed about?
All the good times just begun. Oh, we know what we have let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right.